Hi there, everybody, and welcome to Fantasy Golf Picks. My name is Sophie Walker, and here is Kit Alexander. How are you, Kit?
Very well, very well. Another winning weekend for the Fantasy Golf Picks. Although we have to give the woman that you got in to give us some expert tips, Iona Stephen, her credit where it's due for picking Justin Harding, and you for picking the right person to make the pick. So good picking from everyone.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we got Iona on, didn't we? Because we thought she knew a little bit more about Kenya. And she just said, oh, yeah, if Justin Harding's in the field, I quite fancy him. But then went on to tell me how she picked Stephen Gallagher the other day. And it totally put me off because I had Justin Harding written down. And I thought, oh, Iona's just blasé said it. But yeah, I mean, speak about go with your gut, first instinct, calling it on a Sunday night. But it's, the Magical Kenyan Open, we didn't actually get to see the first 3 days, which was, well, I text you, didn't I? And I said, I now know what it feels like to be like my family, because the LET never used to be on TV that much. So they just used to refresh. And it was live scoring after every 3 holes. So at least the European Tour was every hole. But at least we got to see it on Sunday. I started off amazing, and on Friday, I was tweeting like, I am the best, Jose Mourinho, I am the special one, and had a pretty average weekend. So do you want to go through who performed well? Obviously, we said Justin Harding.
Yeah, Justin Harding won. I didn't pick him in my team, unfortunately. A bit like you, I sort of wasn't overly convinced. Iona nailed it for us, but I didn't feel him. I had Kurt Kitayama as captain, though. He finished second. So second alone for your captain. You've got to be happy with that. Guido Migliozzi did quite nicely for me. Jamie Donaldson. Darren Fickhart made a quiet little run up a little bit over the weekend. I had Chris Paisley miss the cut, unfortunately. Matthias Schwab not really do a lot. But ultimately, the captain's so important. And any week, if you can get a player in the top 3, and alone especially, and if they're your captain, that's got to be counted as a good week, no matter what everyone else does. So you know what, Kitayama captain, second alone, some decent showings from Migliozzi, Donaldson, Fickhart did okay as well. So reasonably happy with that. How did you fare?
Well, obviously, Kurt was in my team. He's never not out my team. I didn't captain him though. So, but little stat on Kurt, right? In 2017, he lost his Corn Ferry Tour card. He came over to Europe, having never played in Europe, got through all 3 stages of Q-Score, and he's now won twice. And every single event this year, he's got better and better and better. So, we can't pick him this week, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
There's only one place to go from his finish this week as well, having finished second.
What I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I had Kale Samuja as my captain, who had an unbelievable opening 2 rounds. I was very smug. Not that many people had him in their team. And then he had only 7 birdies at the weekend, so he kind of went backwards. George Garcia started bad this week and finished well, so that was good. And then they all made the cut. You know, I had Guido as well. So I had 6 people make the cut, but my captain only finished 12th. So I got 362 points, and I think you got 529, which is not a bad showing. Robert Ford won with 1,092 points. So there was, I think you said there was 10% of people picked Justin Harding.
Justin Harding, I think around 10%. And obviously, if you had him captain as well, Kurt Kitayama was the betting favourite. So chances he had the 1-2. Guido doing well as defending champ. I thought you were a little bit unlucky with Samoya, actually. I was worried when he went into the weekend where he was. I thought you might have pulled one out of the bag there. But halfway, it's difficult because last week I was so disheartened halfway because 3 missed the cut, and then you end up, if one of those guys goes and wins, which Rosner did last week, it's so hard to sort of halfway even to really go, oh, well, I'm having a good week or a bad week. You just never know. And it only takes 1 or 2 players, and it can make all the difference to you. So what have we got coming this week?
This week is the Dell World Golf Championship Match Play in Texas, Austin. It's the only match play event that we've got on the PGA Tour and the European Tour. Now, There is the Kenyan event also, which we spoke about last week, but you can't pick players from Kenya. Some people might be thinking, why? I'll tell you why. There's 8,000 points available for the World Golf Championship. There's only 2,000 points available for Kenya. Got $10.5 million for the WGC. You get the best part of 50 grand, 60 grand just for rocking up. So really, if you were to pick someone playing in Kenya, you would need to at least be looking at top 10, top 5s to even think about getting any points. So it's very much World Golf Championship weighted in terms of points for the players and points for our fantasy teams.
Probably a good thing, because obviously the Savannah Classic in Kenya is starting on Tuesday morning. So in essence, if that counted this week, the deadline, even for your WGC picks as well, would have to be midnight on Monday night, which obviously doesn't give many people, it's a really short turnaround that. And we've only just discovered what the brackets are for the WGC as well. We're recording this literally just after they come out. So we're in the process of digesting them and what that means as well. So you'd essentially have from sort of 3:30 UK time, when those brackets were released on the Monday, to midnight to pick your teams if the Savannah Classic, which starts on Tuesday morning, was included. Even if it was included, we would be saying load all your eggs into the WGC Dell Match Play bracket for the reasons that you mentioned. Such big points available. But as it is, we've got until 10 a.m. on Thursday morning, that's UK time, to pick your 6 players for the WGC Match Play. I'm buzzing for this week. I love, that's Wednesday morning, sorry, because it starts on Wednesday, my apologies. So 10 a.m. Wednesday morning, I'm buzzing for this week. I love Match Play. I think there should be more of it. I do understand why there isn't, but this is always a brilliant week, as well as this fantasy team. I'll be doing my predictions bracket, which you can do on pgatour.com. So we'll have to get involved there as well. Anywhere I can make predictions, I'm going to jump on board. So I'm really looking forward to this week. I think it's a fascinating tournament for so many reasons. And that just makes it even more difficult to pick our 6. I think, we were chatting a little bit before, not only have you got the players' form to think about, perhaps the course profile and who's going to suit that, but you've also got, well, how good are they in match play? That's a completely different element, and one that we don't see these pros playing too often. And then, well, do you fancy the group they've been drawn in? Maybe someone that you really like has had an absolute stinker of a draw. What do you do then? So with all that spinning around our minds, where are we going this week? Who are those bankers that you've looked at all of that and are going straight in your team?
Right. Well, if you look at form at Austin, so it's been there for the best part of 5 or 6 years, you can have all types of winners. You've got Dustin Johnson to Kevin Kisner. And I think that's the point that you're saying, Kit. It's match play. So you're looking at somebody that really enjoys that battle of one-on-one. And it's something that as pros, we only really play, Ryder Cup, Solheim Cup. As an amateur, you might have played a bit more. So we might have to delve into some amateur records here. And also, players that I've picked, I wouldn't necessarily have put them in for a stroke play event. Like Sir John Rahm. So John Rahm for me is a banker because stats-wise, he's unbelievable at the minute. His scoring average is 69.9. He's 3rd in the world. He's got a very good record here, actually. But he's not putting very well. Now, I don't mind somebody not putting that well going into a match play just because you free it up a little bit. We only have to look at Ryder Cups and you see the likes of Sergio Garcia, top point scorer ever, Colin Montgomery. These guys that might not hold as well their fair share in the 72 hole events, might even die the ball to the hole a bit too much. Then they start being more positive. And I think John Rahm is this guy. He's 121st in strokes gained putting this year. Everything else is incredible. So I'm going for him. And obviously beat Tiger at the Ryder Cup. So that's the ultimate scalp, isn't it?
A good shout on him, I think. He was runner-up in his debut at the tournament, and also just looking quickly at his group, Sebastian Munoz, Ryan Palmer, Shane Lowry, with the greatest respect to those guys. And Shane might well find himself in the Ryder Cup alongside John later this year and be really good in that environment. But you've got to back Jon Rahm coming out of that group, haven't you?
Yeah, I do. My second definite is Patrick Reed. He's the one that every European player wants to beat in the Ryder Cup, but I would also say it's the one that they don't want. He's Captain America. Nothing phases him, as we've seen over the past few years. No off the course, no on the course phases him. I would say the best short game on tour. If you asked any player, who do you want short game wise, they're going Patrick Reed. Looking at his, let me just go through here. Looking at his bracket, he's in Group 7. Joaquin Niemann, Christian Bezuidenhout, and Bubba Watson. Now, we don't know too much about the middle two. Obviously, Bubba's got a good record, but I fancy Reed to get out of that group. Yeah, and once again, up there on many stats and has won already this year.
Yeah. And you mentioned everyone wanting to beat him, all the Europeans wanting to beat him in the Ryder Cup. I imagine if you take it out of that Ryder Cup scenario, there are a healthy amount of Europeans, that Americans that would want to beat him in this format or any other as well. Not the most popular guy on tour, so that adds to it. Yeah, Reed's definitely in and amongst my thinking as well. Any more definites from your side?
Well, yeah, after the draw, I got put off, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but a definite, Paul Casey. Mm-hmm. Now, he's undefeated at Walker Cups, got a nice Ryder Cup record, and this guy is just a machine. Has he got 4 top 10s this year? Won over in the Desert Classic, a stalwart of European golf, and performs well over here and over there. Once again, not a bad group either. He's got Webb Simpson, obviously a good player, Mackenzie Hughes and Taylor Gooch, who are making their debuts. Mm-hmm. He's Mr. Consistent, and yeah, that's why I'm putting him in my team.
I love that pick. I was over Paul Casey before the groups were drawn. He's got a nice record here, a couple of tied 9th and a tied 17th. So he's got towards the latter stages and out of the group a few times. As you say, he's in great form. And when I saw that group come out, I'm absolutely loving that. Webb Simpson hasn't had he's a great player, great stroke player. He's had a fantastic career, major winner. But as we've seen in the Ryder Cup, hasn't always had his best stuff in a match play situation. And, you know, Taylor Gooch and Mackenzie Hughes, if you're in this field, you're a really, really good player. But having said that, you would absolutely take those 2 guys in your group, looking at all of the others who are in this world-class field. So Paul Casey's straight in there for me as well.
Yeah, and also it is knockout, but each player will definitely play 3 matches. So it's round robin, which I think helps the higher ranked players.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Anything that makes the format a little bit longer or gives you more chances, you're always leaning towards the better players to ultimately show their class over the course of those 3 rounds.
Yeah, so they're my...
Rory Mcilroy.
Yeah, I was just about to say, you said...
Preempted, yeah.
Yeah, for me, right, Rory goes in all the time. Like, it's just, it's not even a conversation. Obviously, I'm very Rory biased. Yeah, he's not performed as well as people expect him to perform, but that is because his level is so high. Yeah, he's been struggling off the tee, but that's Rory's strength, so I can't see him doing that for too long. In terms of his match play record, it's second to none. He goes towards the top of the Ryder Cup when he goes out, so he's playing against the best. Has done well here in the past. I've actually been on YouTube this morning watching past rounds. It's pretty generous off the tee, this place, and it's all about firing it in close for your second. So if Rory's weakness at the moment is off the tee, he should get a bit more confidence. Yes, he's missed cut recently, but he normally bounces back very well after that. I think this match play is exactly what he needs. I thought he was going to take this week off and prepare for the Masters, but he's clearly thought to himself, no, I need to play it. So if he wants to be here, he's going to give it everything. So Rory McIlroy is in my team. I'm sure you've got more stats than me on that, but boy.
Well, I mean, I really like Rory as a pick as well. As we've kind of said before, no matter what's going on with Rory, when it comes to this game, I don't know that I've ever left him out through all the season this game's been going when he's been available in a tournament, because it's Rory McIlroy. And he normally does do the business for you, even if he doesn't quite challenge or win as often as you might want him to. He still very rarely has a bad week. So I really like him as well. He has finished 4th at this venue before, 9th as well, so he's gone deep. For me, McIlroy, Casey and Rahm are my 3 definites, so I'm with you on that. And then it gets a little bit trickier. So there's a couple of guys who I know we were both really liking before this draw came out. And it just so happens they have been stuck together in the same group, and that is Justin Thomas and Louis Oosthuizen. Louis Oosthuizen, a sneaky good match player. His President's Cup record in the last 3 appearances, I think he's taken at least 3 points in each of the last 3 President's Cups, which when you're in an international team that perhaps is on the wrong side of a few big losses to America, anytime you've got a winning record more than losing in that side, I think you're doing really, really well. He's also done well in this tournament. He's been 2nd, 5th and 9th in the last 4 years at this event. So he knows how to get it done. And of course, Justin Thomas, he's finished 4th in this event previously, won a couple of weeks ago, looks to have found his accuracy off the tee, which was all that was holding him back. If Justin Thomas hits fairways, he will shoot low, low rounds of golf. But the fact they've been put in the same group, and even beyond that, you look at the other 2 names in that group, it's Kevin Kisner and Matt Kuchar. Mm-hmm. So you might not be initially scared by those names, but Kisner won it last time. He's the defending champion. And Matt Kuchar has got to the final before as well. So these guys know how to play match play golf and have proven it at this venue. For me, that's the absolute group of death. And I don't really know what I'm going to do here. Because do we just stick with our guns and go, you know what, we fancied them, so let's stick them both in and hope that at least one of them gets out? Mm-hmm. Or do we just stay away from them altogether? Or do you pick one that you prefer? And I mean, I don't know what to do. What are you thinking on those?
Well, I text you, didn't I? Like Saturday, I'm on Louis. I mean, I'm even on Louis for the Masters. That's how strongly I feel about him at the moment. Same with Justin Thomas. But the Kisner thing, right? But so Kisner and Louis tee off in the first match in that group. They've won between them 27 out of 39 matches at Austin. Yeah. Louis has won more points in the President's Cup than any else, right? I'm edging to kind of, I don't know, do I just go with both of them and think, well, one of them's going out, but I think the one that goes through will go deep. That's almost my thought right now. Because they were my 2 real big favourites. I almost feel like if you'd have said this before, actually Reed would have been the one, I'm not quite sure about putting in. Yeah. We do have a massive problem here. And with only one player going through from each of these groups, it's going to be difficult. So I think for people to consider Louis and JT has made the most birdies out of anyone on the PGA Tour average wise. Okay, so it's not, well, he's played more than anyone else. Average, he averages 5 birdies a round, which I tell you what is very, very good. I mean, I used to think if I can get to 3, I'm doing okay. So that's kind of my one here. Was there anyone else that you thought has got a consideration? I had Victor Hovland.
And a nice looking group for him as well. Kevin Streelman, Abraham Anser and Bernd Wiesberger. So you'd quite fancy Hovland in that sort of company. Obviously, he's a US amateur winner, so he's good at match play. Not too long ago, what was that, 3 years ago, I think. So he's got to be in the shout. Another one who I really liked pre the draw, and I have cooled on massively, is, you've mentioned him already, he's the Ryder Cup's record point scorer, Sergio Garcia. Great match player, decent record in the match play at this venue as well. but he has been drawn into, well, if we're calling JT, Oosthuizen, Kisner and Kuchar the group of death, this one we can call the European Tour group of death, because it's Garcia, Hatton, Westwood and Matt Wallace, who I think most people agree is going to be a very handy match player throughout his career. Yeah, I really liked Garcia before seeing that. Now, I don't think I'm going to touch him. I think there's too much danger and volatility. Any one of those four guys could have a really good week and go deep, but I don't know if I could pick which one. I'd be erring towards Garcia, but you know, you could make a really, really good case for Hatton. And obviously Westwood playing some great golf. He was tired last week, but he's had the weekend off to recover off the back of 2 runners up. And Matt Wallace, whilst not in the best form, is someone that I would fear in this format in match play. So Garcia I really liked, and I now think I'm going to leave him alone because of that draw. Yeah,
you can see Matt Wallace thinking to himself, if I can get through that group, Padraig Harrington's going to be watching. He's one of those guys, isn't he, that I can prove a point here.
Oh, 100% he will be thinking that. And I spoke to him earlier this year, and he said the Ryder Cup is #1 target on his radar this year. He wants to be there, and he is going to look at this group in exactly those terms. He will have no shortage of motivation.
Yeah, and almost the other way with Hatton. Sometimes I wonder if Hatton realises how good he is. Like he's almost a bit like top 10 in the world. Wow! Like, and when he comes face to face with, I mean, there'll be no doubt Westwood and Garcia will be his Ryder Cup heroes. So there is that, isn't there? In it all, it's a group which I don't think anybody should touch. I could not. No. It's the one group that I couldn't give you a winner. I would put the 3 ahead of Wallace slightly, but that is a group that I just don't think you can touch. For me,
I think we need to address a few more Americans as well, because one thing that previous winners, it's been here 4 times, 2016 through to 2019. 3 of the winners are American. Yeah. So whilst Kisner and Johnson have very different games, they're American, and it's in America. So we've mentioned Reed and Thomas, but there's quite a few Americans who you can actually pick in the game this week. Patrick Cantlay's one. Will Zalatoris, somewhat surprisingly, is in there. Colin Morakowa, even Ryan Palmer you can pick. But there's 2 that we've got to discuss in detail because I need some clarity as much as anything else. And I think in discussing them, they're quite a similar issue for me. And that is Bryson DeChambeau and Tony Fenow. So you look at them, they're 2 players in absolutely fantastic form. They're 2 players who bomb the ball. So the course should suit them to an extent, and there should be an intimidation factor of whoever they're playing. But you look at their professional match play records, and it's not great. DeChambeau was poor in the most recent Ryder Cup. Fenow hasn't done a lot in the President's Cup, and was pretty rubbish in Le Golf National as well. I'm wrestling with the fact that they're both better players than they were the last time they played a team match play event for America. Yeah, they're both in great form, but I just don't fancy them in match play. I don't know what it is. I just, the same reason. Well, I love Tony. I really like Tony Fenow. He frustrates the hell out of me, but I really like him. But the same reason he frustrates the hell out of me, and I don't fancy him winning a tournament, but I'll expect him to be top 5 all day, is the same reason I don't fancy him in match play. There's so many quotes of players, and you'll know this having played it at a top level, that playing a match play event like this feels like the final Sunday of a stroke play event. Every round's like that because it's jeopardy and you win or go home, at least when you get to the knockouts. I don't know that suits Tony Fenow for certain. You could make arguments that Bryson DeChambeau is far better equipped physically and mentally now than he has been previously. But again, do I really fancy him in match play? I don't know. What do you think about those 2?
Well, I can't believe it's taken 37 minutes for us to mention Bryson DeChambeau. That wouldn't normally happen in any stroke play event. So that just shows you where you're at. match play, you increase your positivity stroke aggression. Off the tee, maybe you go for a bit more. Now, that doesn't play into Bryson's game at the moment. I think if we watched him the last couple of weeks, he's learned, hasn't he? Like 2 irons come out or 5 irons come out off the tee. He hasn't been hitting his driver. Can he resist doing that in a match play format? That's going to take so much discipline. I mean, if anybody can, he can. But I feel like he almost learns from his mistakes. And he hasn't made that match play mistake yet because we haven't had any. That's my thing with Bryson. I think it would be quite easy to get under his skin as well.
I think so. I think as much as all his
antics, you just need to see Eddie Pepperell winding him up, and so yeah, there is that. The Tony Fenow one, I'm exactly the same. He's a steady Eddie, which I mean can do quite well at match play. Kevin Kisner, Matt Kuchar. Are we as people maybe looking for the firework player when, you know, steady wins the race? I think that's maybe what they've gone for Louis Oosthuizen in this.
That's true. But is it? I don't think it's just fireworks. For me, I think it's about that ability to perform under pressure. And whilst, you know, someone like Kisner might not necessarily be a firework player, if you look at his career historically, when he gets in contention, he generally plays quite well. Right. So some of these guys that are good match players that aren't necessarily as good as stroke players, it might just be that their game isn't quite there to get them into contention as often in stroke play. But when they're in match play, that mental side of things that enables them to excel there and be quite good under pressure comes to the fore because it's more like that every round. So for me, there's a differentiation between a player that has the skills to get themselves into contention a lot of the time, and they do, but they don't finish it off as much as they should. And a player that perhaps doesn't have the natural skill set to get into contention as often at stroke play events, but when they do, they've shown they're dogged and decent finishers. And then that lends itself really well to match play. And I would put someone like Kevin Kisner actually in that bracket. I would take, if you put Kevin Kisner and Tony Fenow on the first hole right now and said, who are you taking over 18 holes? I take Kevin Kisner all day long. I don't think he's the better golfer. If you put them on that same first tee and said they're going to play 72 holes stroke play, and it's whoever has the lowest score, I'm taking Tony Fenow all day long. But that's not what this week is. So I can't see Fenow. Whereas
so what you're saying really is that match play is a lot more about a personality than it is really about the stats. Well, stats will usually come into it, but there's the personality element in there. And I would agree, at an amateur level, there used to be people which were amazing at match play, but you used to say to yourself, I don't think they'll make it on tour because there's no way you can put 72 holes stroke play together. So I agree with that. I also think this week is one where your heart can rule your head because of that as well. So I think it's very easy to just go from 1 to 6 players in the world. Obviously, we can't get Dustin Johnson in there, which, by the way, fancy him to get out of his group. So yeah, I think there'll be, like normal at these World Golf Championships, most people will have about 3-4 people the same, and then things will start getting difficult in that sense. I do agree that Bryson will be picked by a lot of people and not all. I think
he will.
Yeah. I think that is in. I can see Reed being really popular as well, just for those reasons. So there's a couple here that I think it would be nice to maybe just look at in sense of, is there anyone out of left field that you go, I tell you what, mine's Billy Horschel, right? Billy Horschel in the Walker Cup was an absolute, a machine. He led the Walker Cup, I think it was in 2007. When DJ was in that team, he went out number 1. He talks and he's annoying which is kind of that's the match play feeling. He's a shot maker. He actually lives for this type of game. He's my little, if you fancy an outsider, mine's Billy Horschel, but it'd be more on personality and kind of what I know about it match play wise than stats.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad shout as well. If I was to pick someone left field, let's have a look down here at my list. You know what? I'm going Abraham Answer.
Yeah.
I was really impressed by what I saw with him at the President's Cup, actually. And he got a bit of unfair stick, I think, for the comments he made regarding Tiger Woods. He said, yeah, I'd really fancy taking on Tiger Woods. And then he played really well through the week, then played Tiger Woods, got beaten. And a lot of people jumped on him and went, oh, well, that's what you get for asking for Tiger Woods. Who in the world wouldn't say, do you fancy playing Tiger Woods in the singles if they're asked that? Who in the world in his situation wouldn't go, yes, I'm up for that all day long. I want to take that on.
Yeah,
so
if you say no, everybody's like, oh, he's scared of
yeah, why don't you want him? Yeah. So, and he didn't even do it in that kind of, yeah, I'm going to take him on and beat him way. It was an almost, if you listen to the original interview, it was almost in reverence, I'd like to take him on. So I like Abraham Answer. He's got a reasonable little match play record. I think he's a good player. If I was going left field, I'd go Abraham Answer, but I don't think I will when it comes to my final picks. So that being said, if we're looking at narrowing down our final picks, how many of your 6 are you committing to right now?
Rahm, Reed, Casey, Rory, 4. And then I'm thinking Victor, Louis, and JT into the last couple of spots.
Okay. My definites then: Paul Casey, Rory McIlroy, Jon Rahm. I'm still looking at Thomas and Oosthuizen as well. So like you, I've got to look at that and make a decision whether I go with 1, 2, or none of them. I also quite like Colin Morakowa. We haven't really spoken about him, but a good iron player is always going to be dangerous in match play. It's going to put a lot of pressure. He's very cool, calm and collected. I don't think you're going to be able to ruffle him. Again, hasn't been a pro that long. So like people like Wolf and Hovland, it's not that long ago that he was playing a lot of match play golf at college. And I think you look at his group, JT Poston, Billy Horschel, Max Homa. Yeah, I mean, I liked your Horschel pick as well because you look at that group and you could easily see him coming out of it, but I might actually go more with Morikawa looking at that group. Only sort of question mark is on the putting. So...
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it's a tough week this week. I mean, this will be our longest video because there's so much to discuss. And it's match play. So once you get through the round robin, you know, you've got 18 holes. Normally we say it's a marathon, not a sprint. This is a sprint. You've got to get out there quick. So if anyone's looking for stats, birdie count would be mine. What's their birdie average, which is why JT, Reed are right at the top of mine. But yeah, I think this is going to be the week where there'll be a lot more heart over heads and yeah, even the captain's so important, you know, because normally...
Yeah, if they go in the first round, it's like...
Yeah. Normally WGC, they all make the cut, don't they? So captain, it's like, they'll go in there like it's a bit of a free hit, especially for some of the young, like, you know, these Taylor Gooches or Matt Wallace's. It's a free hit, this World Golf Championship.
Bob McIntyre in DJ's group. He's going to be licking his lips.
This isn't a free hit, I don't think. This is a free hit at DJ as such.
Exactly, yeah.
It's not a, well, I've got 4 rounds to prove myself. I know that. No. You haven't. So I think this is a lot harder to get the right team together. So I'm hoping we've helped you more than confused you. And yeah, I would definitely advise to have a quick look at these groups just to to consolidate what you guys are already thinking. This will definitely help. You know, we used to talk about what's the wind like, what's the weather like. I think the groups are just as important as that right now. So I think we've kind of covered it. I wouldn't say we've covered it all. I'm sure we've missed out some people, but we've done our very best, haven't we, Kit?
We have. I mean, we could talk for another half hour discussing these things. As you say, it's such a totally different tournament. There's so much more at play to add in that isn't kind of already accepted knowledge and things. But yeah, I think we've covered most of the big names that are eligible in the game. As we say, it's 10 a.m. on Wednesday morning is the deadline to select your team, because it's a Wednesday start. 5 days of golf. It's going to be awesome action. Hopefully our players go deep, but I'm going to really enjoy watching it whatever happens, because I love watching match play golf.
Yeah, we will be watching it, as I say, Wednesday start, so don't forget about that, everybody. Now, thank you all for watching. If you've enjoyed this watch, click the like button, the subscribe button, comment below. We have had 3 wins out of 3. If we get 4 this time next week, I will be very happy, because this is the toughest one yet, Kit.
Yeah.
Right. Thanks,
Absolutely.
everybody.
Winner in this one will be amazing.
I'll see you soon, Kit. I'll no doubt be WhatsApping you thinking, oh, they've all gone out first round. But that's match play.
Fingers crossed, everybody.